Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Health Minister tells of organ donations and transplants. Calls for a constitution for all citizens. And mentoring by the masters from the Ministry of Arts and Multiculturalism. In our top story, the gift of life being given by someone even upon their death. This is being described by Health Minister Dr. Fuad Khan as one of the most selfless acts. The minister was speaking at the Journalist Forum themed the role of the media in communicating the advances on health technologies as it relates to organ donation and transplant.
Health Minister Dr. Fuad Khan is commending the National Organ Transplant Unit for its tireless efforts in promoting and facilitating organ transplantation in Trinidad and Tobago. This unit, he says, has achieved a significant milestone with the National Organ Transplant Unit, including Dr. Roberts and others performing its 100th kidney transplant on February 26, 2013. Dr. Khan says he is hopeful that Trinidad and Tobago will become the focal point for transplant surgery in this country.
Kidney transplants, in a perfect manner in which kidney failure can be treated, was first performed in Trinidad and Tobago in 1988. But it has only been since the existence of the National Organ Transplant Unit, established in January 2006, that there has been a sustained transplant program in the public sector. It is funded by the government of Trinidad and Tobago and accessible to all nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. This program, the only such one in the English-speaking Caribbean, has had all the features required for sustainability. We hope to become the center point, the hub for this expansion of transplant surgery in the region, developing the specialization on the successes that we have achieved.
The minister says there is the appropriate transplant legislation, a source of funding, the presence of a specialized transplant organization, and the stipulated transplant programs. The health minister provided some useful information on the history of kidney transplantation in this country, which he says cannot be done if there are no donors. He is reiterating the fact that there is indeed a great shortage of organ donors in Trinidad and Tobago.
There is the appropriate transplantation legislation, a source of funding, the presence of specialized transplant organization, and the stipulated transplant program. Of the 100 kidney transplant patients, 94 have received kidneys from living donors and 6 from deceased donors. With regard to living donors, 30% have been donated by persons unrelated to the recipients. The most common relationship is seen between sibling peers. Patients who have had an unrelated donor must be evaluated by an ethical committee to ensure the donation is truly altruistic. Kidney failure has no age barrier, and 6 of the persons transplanted were under the age of 16. Our oldest patient recipient was 62. The most common cause of kidney failure in these patients, unfortunately, is unknown, because diagnosis of the kidney condition is usually very late. 58 of the patients were males and 42 were females. Whatever the reasons and whatever the causes, significant changes in medicine, surgery have provided the ability to save people from the illnesses with donated organs. But we are still grappling with a shortage of donors. We have everything we need to complete transplantation, but we do not have the substrate, which is the donors.
Dr. Khan is assuring that the organ transplant system in this country will be conducted with all transparency. He says efforts will be made towards improving channels for communication with the mass media as well as the healthcare providers.
With our laws as well as our structured approach, there is no fear that transplant commercialism will occur. Increased donation is expected through ongoing training of hospital personnel, raising public awareness and emphasizing the need for all of us to have more conversations about donations and transplantation with our family and friends. A natural corollary of this will be the establishment of other transplant programs, such as corneal transplants. While this instance may not be life-saving, corneal transplants can and will enhance the quality of life of many patients. in the Eric William Medical Sciences Complex, I have given the approval for the establishment of an eye bank. This will facilitate the development of corneal transplants.
Organ transplants from deceased donors are only permitted when the donor has been pronounced dead. Living donors are only allowed to donate paired organs such as kidney or lungs, where the donor can survive with just one. Also, living donors can donate fluids and tissues that will restore, such as blood, bone marrow, and parts of the liver.
For most people living in Trinidad and Tobago, organ donation sounds far removed and far-fetched from their everyday lives. We never think about it or accept that it is something that we may have to acknowledge later down the road. But I'm sure some of us may know people who are waiting for organ donations, and some may even know people who have received them. Perhaps, in a way, organ donation forces us to face the reality of life and death. But what we cannot ignore is that our waiting list for organ donation is growing at a rapid rate.
The minister is therefore urging citizens to become organ donors today. He says this move would not only save the lives of hundreds, but also result in huge savings, especially in the area of dialysis. It is reported that each year the ministry shells out close to $9 million to provide free dialysis service to kidney patients. Persons can sign up to become a registered organ donor by calling the 800 donor line or going online at the Health Ministry's website www.health.gov.tt. Vuna Bharath, News 4.
It was an evening of celebration as the award ceremony for the Mentoring by the Masters program took place at the Southern Academy for the Performing Arts. This is one of the several developmental projects of the Ministry of Arts and Multiculturalism during the year 2012. Mentoring by the Masters is a project where the skilled craftsmen and artists in the areas of dance, festivals, music and theatre are recognized in an attempt to build capacity in the creative industry in Trinidad and Tobago.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the creative sector has the potential to stimulate the economy. I once again wish to take this opportunity to call for increased private-public partnerships and collaboration with all stakeholders in our cultural programs. Our ultimate goal is to foster self-sufficiency and develop the skill sets of our cultural practitioners. Our role at the Ministry of the Arts and Multiculturalism is to develop policies and programs which will take our art forms to another level and exceed our clients' expectations, indeed exceed our own expectations.
Their role as mentors and mentees are to develop their craft and creative product to such an extent that would generate competitive advantages in Trinidad and Tobago wherever business is done.
We recognize that there is a need, and one of the gaps that we thought existed had to be the transfer of knowledge, the transfer of technique, the transfer of technology. And so the ministry sought to bring into play this program. Consequently, the goal of the mentoring program, as you have heard, is to facilitate the transfer of knowledge from senior, accomplished artists to emerging practitioners or apprentices in their respective fields. And of a truth, ladies and gentlemen, it is really the only way to teach.
The minister says the program was designed so that knowledge could be passed on.
In recognition of our mentors of the Masters program, this evening we begin with recognizing Master Zeno Obi Constance, a graduate teacher of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. The Ministry of the Arts and Multiculturalism is pleased to recognize Master Constance in the field of playwriting and technical direction for stage.
Celebration is, of course, very important because people need to be recognized for the work that they've done and for their accomplishment over the years.
The minister says they are truly happy with whom they have chosen to honor on the occasion. They are Mr. Rajkumar Kishan Prasad in the area of dance, Mr. Rodney Ramjit in the area of festivals, Mr. Errol Innes in the area of music, and Mr. Zeno Constance in the area of theatre. The individuals, he says, have given of themselves, their expertise and their time above and beyond their call of duty. After the break, citizens on constitutional reform. Stay with us. Welcome back. Citizens throughout the country continue to provide several solutions for a constitution that encompasses all citizens and governs in a fair manner that is relevant to today's needs.
Secondly, there are many burning issues as pertains to where our constitution should be able to carry us. Because when the laws of a country, when the people of a country, ladies and gentlemen, has outgrown the laws of that country, it means to say that your constitution should now be given an opportunity to be able to effectively bring back to the people who is the actual sovereignty of any land the right to their place, the right to their practice within the constraints.
On Tuesday, the National Consultation on Constitutional Reform Committee moved into Princestown to engage the public in bringing forth their views on the current constitution and receive suggestions toward an amended one. Several individuals raised significant points which the Minister of Legal Affairs, the Honorable Prakash Ramada, assured would be considered and followed through with where applicable.
I wanted to write down in the Constitution after a certain amount of time that a judge has to give his judgment, right? Let's write down in the Constitution. So they can have their own way, because the small man will suffer. I don't have money.
Our constitution for any trade union dictates that the membership are in charge of the organization, which follows by a conference of delegates, then the general council, then the executive, and then the president. The president is actually the person at the bottom. But perception is that the president is in charge of the organization. And I am simply asking that in your review and in your recommendations that you will put before cabinet and before the national community, that additional powers in consultation with trade unions be given to the registrar. Now, my dream, sir, it's just a dream. My dream is that the trade union movement of themselves should be given the opportunity to elect 3 persons to become registrars. So it wouldn't be a one person, like what has happened in Trinidad and Tobago today, that there isn't anyone in place. There should be at least 3 persons, and this group of persons should have a full staff to function, to do exactly what they are supposed to do. For example, every trade union must be audited on an annual basis. It is no different to your credit union.
Term limits, I will not give my reasons, I'll just say yes. Term limits, not one, but term limits. Fixed date for elections, no, we need to catch politicians with their pants down, because even with their pants down, they manage to hoodwink us very often. So don't give them time to plan for us. Proportional representation, yes, it will not be easy to accomplish, but I want to say yes.
The size of the cabinet must be controlled by the Constitution, not more than 10% of the members. So because of the construction of the Constitution, the Parliament, you'll have more people available to work on the committees. The argument about these committees is the Parliament too small to have the committees work. But nothing should prevent us from dealing with the issue of corruption. And the cabinet must not be more than 10. So we have other members of Parliament being able to attend these meetings. Also, in these committees of Parliament, the opposition and the independents in that committee must be one more than the government. For example, in the Senate, we have it in the Senate, one more than the government. And the chairman of those committees must be either the opposition or independent.
The consultations will continue until May 4th as the government continues to provide a platform for the population to have a say in the governance and laws of the country. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
There is word today that the Ministry of Public Administration and the Personnel Department have engaged in a joint project to clear the blockage of 3,000 outstanding requests for terms and conditions of service for persons employed in the contract of public service. The ministry says the project is one facet of the Gold to Diamond journey for the renewal of public service.
The 22-member project team, which is working under the guidance of the Chief Personnel Officer, comprises former public officers with sound knowledge of and qualifications in human resource management, as well as recent university graduates. The ministry says this will allow for transfer of knowledge. The project is just one of a number of initiatives which Cabinet agreed that the Ministry and the Personnel Department should pursue in order to improve efficiency and effectiveness in the administration and management of the contractual process. The other initiatives which came into effect from 15 February 2013 include the introduction of standardized job descriptions, revised salaries, and other terms and conditions for approved positions in the manipulative, clerical, secretarial, human resources, communications, and legal streams. This means that persons seeking employment will be aware in advance of the remuneration package in these positions, thus significantly reducing the need to approach the Personnel Department for terms and conditions of service. In addition, steps are being taken to improve the human resource planning function in the public service, and the MPA is working with all ministries and departments to develop 6-year contract employment staffing plans. Contract employment in the public service has grown significantly over the years, rising from less than 100 persons in 1990 to over 10,000 in 2010, explained the Minister of Public Administration, the Honourable Carolyn Sipasad-Bachan.
Up next, the very latest in sports. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Trinidad and Tobago Under-17 footballers barely missed out on a place in the 2013 FIFA Under-17 World Cup, which will be contested in the United Arab Emirates later this year. The young Warriors returned home on Wednesday, disappointed but with hope for the future. News for Sports was at the Piarco International Airport, and Wayne Cunningham has more in this report.
The national Under-17 footballers returned from Panama on Wednesday following their elimination at the quarter-final stage of the 2013 CONCACAF Under-17 World Cup qualifying tournament. Head coach Sean Cooper gave his thoughts on the team's performance.
It sent a message to us that we needed a bit more preparation, especially on the AstroTurf surface. What actually happened is that the Trinidad public didn't know we actually had a lot of wounded soldiers outside there playing because of the AstroTurf surface. We picked up a lot of injuries during the course of the training sessions, and I must commend the physio, Mr. Taylor, for getting the boys ready outside there to play. They give their heart, and I'm pleased about it. The only way we could get up to speed and qualify for those tournaments is preparing. Who are we preparing to play by just playing 4 international tournaments? We came up against a Costa Rica team who were living together, who went to school together, who has played 42 international games. And I think the international experience showed on the final day, where some of our main players didn't show up for the game. But as far as effort was concerned, A+ to them.
The young Warriors were beaten in the quarterfinals by host Panama. And according to defender Shannon Gomez, it was a difficult assignment.
1 minute is really tough playing against them. But for 90 minutes or 94 minutes, you have to keep focused, keep concentrating in the game. The early goal, we could have kept the goal on, to the end of the game, and it could have on our way to the World Cup qualifiers.
Team captain Brendan Creed is looking to the future with some great optimism.
I would have loved to qualify, but we have to take all of this in stride and see how we can improve now and build on it as players. The immediate goal would be to keep training as a team, hopefully, so we could build on our experiences in the Under-17 CONCACAF, so that when the Under-20 time comes now, we wouldn't make those same mistakes. As a team, we really should try to come together a lot more, look at our weaknesses as a unit, so that we could improve on them together.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
When we return, much more news on News 4. Stay with us. Welcome back. Fostering entrepreneurship in Trinidad and Tobago is just one of the ways government intends to tackle poverty eradication. And one of the programs that are aimed at achieving this is the IBIS program, spearheaded by NEDCO, under the purview of the Ministry of Labour. IBIS seeks to make achieving one's business easier through providing the support needed for its long-term sustainability.
Putting your creativity to work for you and earn cash rewards. For years, this has sounded so difficult to achieve. Today, this can now be a reality through IBIS, the National Integrated Business Incubation System offered through NEDCO, the National Entrepreneurship Development Company Limited. IBIS provides much more than financial support, but guidance in starting up and growing one's business. It also gives the insight and training needed for sustaining enterprises long-term. Spearheading this is Labour Minister Errol McLeod, who explains how IBIS operates.
People need to go to the NEDCO office, and we have NEDCO offices, spread out almost throughout the country, and there are application forms, all right? They would meet with some expert, quote unquote, who would discuss with them whatever their ideas might be and set them on a path of determining the kind of business plan that they ought to develop. That business plan is then examined by a special committee at the level of NEDCO, and if they feel convinced that this is going to go somewhere, okay, the applicant is provided with seed funding, he's provided with mentorship, he's provided with operationalization of the business and so on. Now, that is the normal small business enterprise. Insofar as IBIS is concerned, people are selected and they are put through a training period.
This aims at enhancing economic development in rural areas through fostering entrepreneurial business thinking through the incubation process. Chairman of NEDCO, Natasha Ramkisoon, explains what this incubation process means.
Basically, we would provide services of a virtual office. We would also supply actual physical space for manufacturing. We will also provide space for you to have your office to conduct sales, etc. So it's a way of bringing entrepreneurship within a community and training you and giving you these tools to be successful.
Two kinds of incubators are provided. One, the community-based business incubator, and two, the commercial business incubator. Community-based incubators seek to leverage business activities based on resources that target the community, which aim at achieving a social objective such as unemployment, alleviation, and poverty reduction. Commercial incubators are geared towards high value and high growth that target national economic transformation. There are 6 stages of the business incubation process: 1, candidate selection; 2, orientation skills; 3, development; 4, business proposal; 5, business incubation; and 6, post-incubation. The opening of the newest NEDCO office in Penal is proof of its expansion and support it aims to provide to every budding business person. Clients entering the IBIS are provided with mentor support as part of the program.
An interesting part of the IBIS program as well is that we have a pool of mentors, business leaders in the field in various sectors. And as part of this program, you are assigned a mentor on a one-on-one basis for a period of 6 months. And they liaise with you, so you get that real-life experience as well. So we're really hoping to provide you the tools, couple that with your own determination and passion for business, and we believe that's the winning formula.
IBIS is aligned with the Framework for Sustainable Development Agenda, which targets Pillar 2, poverty eradication and social justice, preference for the poor and disadvantaged, and Pillar 5, a more diversified, knowledge-intensive economy, creating additional business opportunities that will ultimately ensure economic diversification. Keep viewing to find out how you can access the IBIS program. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
And that story brings us to the end of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.